Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel. And in this video, we are going to be setting our lineups for week 4 of the 2022 fantasy football season. Just like we do every week, we're going to set our lineups across my 3 leagues, just so you can get a little insight into my real life leagues and what goes into making decisions with lineups and waivers and all that good stuff. So the first league that we're going to start with is non-PPR. We have some half PPR stuff later. We got Redraft, Dynasty, one quarterback, Superflex, all sorts of good stuff. So this is the 10th year of this non-PPR one quarterback league. I'm looking for my 4th championship in this league. So before we get into week 4, we're going to quickly recap week 3. I did not have a good week. I lost 70 to 94.94. That's kind of a cool score, 94-94, and then exactly 70. Kind of neat. I'm now 1-2 in this league. I'm not going to lie, guys. I have had a horrible start to this season. One of my worst starts ever, but you know what? I'm not sweating it. I think we're going to turn things around. I really do. I'll admit when I think my team sucks. I don't think any of my teams suck. I think I just had some weird luck. But in week 3, Kirk Cousins did all right, but Miles Sanders was a bust, even though he had the volume. JT, 9 points. That's not what I drafted him number 1 overall for. Tyreek only 3.3. Sutton did all right, but Irv Smith didn't do much with Dalton Schultz out. Really just everyone kind of flopped for me. And on the other side, he had Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb. You know, you see his lineup over there. But I had DK Metcalf on my bench. It was between him and Miles Sanders. And I went with Sanders, and that was the wrong call. I should have put Metcalf in the flex. I could have had a few more points there. Ramondre Stevenson was another bad call. But I mean, I was never even considering playing Stevenson. So like, you know, realistically, I would not have played him. So it's not like, oh shoot, I should have played him. He had Jamal Williams on the bench. That's another guy where it's like it makes sense that play him. But now with DeAndre Swift out, Jamal Williams might be a must start for week 4. But anyways, here are the transactions. Nothing too crazy. With the Dalton Schultz injury situation, I'm trying to find a kind of streaming tight end option. So I kicked Irv Smith to the curb and added David Njoku for 0 out of 200 fab. And I also added Greg Dortch and dropped Darrell Williams just because he's had a nice start to the season. But as the receiving core for the Cardinals gets healthy, his role might get reduced. And I also added the Broncos defense and dropped the Chiefs. I put in claims for a bunch of defenses for $0, and the Broncos are the one that I ended up getting. And this is our matchup for week 4. I'm taking on a 2-1 team. So far, we've had a few players play. I had Tyreek Hill on Thursday night. He got me off to a great start with 160 receiving yards and -1 rushing yard. That's really annoying. Could have been 16 on the dot. That would have been convenient. But T. Higgins on the other side had a good week. 18.4 fantasy points, 124 and a touchdown. So, of course, I just feel like I have bad luck this year so far. I play against T. Higgins and he gets a long bomb touchdown. So it is what it is, but he has a good team. I have a good team. I'm excited to see what happens. He's missing DeAndre Swift. Still has Hopkins on suspension. And he does have Chris Godwin in his lineup, who is questionable for Sunday night. It's looking like he might play. But we'll see, man. We'll see. And it is possible that, you know, I could go ahead and drop Dortch and add some other receiving option from this game so that if Godwin doesn't play and he has Pacheco, maybe he'd play him in the flex if Godwin was out. But long story short, try to think about, you know, blocking your opponent. If Godwin was out and he didn't have another option, I would want to pick up maybe someone in that game or on the Monday night game so that he couldn't pick them up and pivot from Godwin to that player, if that makes sense. Just a little strategy there from a fantasy genius like myself. And here's my lineup, the main point of the video here. Kirk Cousins is my starting quarterback. I don't love him against the Saints. But if you look at the waiver wire options, I'm not really feeling any of this. Carson Wentz at Dallas, I'm not a huge fan of. He's had a few good games to start the season, or a couple good games, but I'm just going to stick with Kirk. I'm a Vikings fan too, so it'll make the game a little more fun. Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, Courtland Sutton, Javonte Williams are obviously in my lineup. I'm playing Njoku right now. I'm probably just going to play him over Dalton Schultz no matter what. Even though Schultz might play, he's coming back from that injury, so we'll see. But I think I'm just going to stick with Schultz. And then the only real tough decisions in this game, or in my lineup for this week, is what to do with Miles Sanders, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, guys like that. I'm not starting Mooney. I'm not going to chase the points with Stevenson, even though I do like him for fantasy and he's carved out a role and he'll have more good weeks. I just like some of my other options better than Stevenson. So ultimately, it kind of came down to Sanders, Metcalf, or Wilson. And remember, I could put Javonte here and Miles Sanders in the flex. So I could play a wide receiver over Miles Sanders. I do have DK Metcalf in another league. And the Lions are, they're a team that can be exploited, but also they have a pretty good defensive back. I think his name's Okudah. So if DK Metcalf sees him, he might have a tough day. Geno Smith is at quarterback now, obviously, so it's hit or miss with him. But in this league, I'm going with Miles Sanders. And Garrett Wilson, I think he's very talented. His first 3 games of his career have been really good for a rookie, right? It's been amazing. But Zach Wilson is going to be starting at quarterback now over Joe Flacco, and we just don't know what Zach Wilson is going to do. So I'm going to leave him on the bench for now just because I think Miles Sanders can have a bounce-back game against Jacksonville. And I like Njoku as a nice streaming option against Atlanta. He was one of my starts of the week for my week 4 starts of the week video. And I got the Rams kicker and the Broncos defense against Vegas. So that's something. And then Mooney I'm not putting him in my lineup no matter what right now. They're just not throwing the ball enough. So yeah, this is that lineup. I think hopefully we can have a good week here. We need a win. We definitely need a win. But we really need to win in this league. This is our auction league of bros. Another redraft league. The previous one was a snake draft, like a regular league. This is an auction draft that we do. I'm 0-3. Last week I lost by less than 3 points. My opponent had Deebo Samuel. I had Javonte Williams in the Monday night or Sunday night game, whatever it was, the last game of the week for either of these two teams. And Deebo just had enough, and Javonte just couldn't. He just didn't get enough work. It was tough to watch, but we did take the L there. Aaron Jones had a bust week for me. Brandin Cooks. Luckily, Metcalf had a decent week. But like I said earlier about Metcalf, I do have Metcalf in this league. So sometimes if I'm not sure what to do with a player and I have him in 2 leagues, and, in the previous league, I liked Miles Sanders kind of similarly, maybe a little bit more than Metcalf, I might sit that player in one league and start them in another league. So we're going to be starting Metcalf in this league where we're a little bit more weak at wide receiver, if that makes sense. And we'll sit Metcalf in that first league that we went over. But overall, not a great week for either team here. But he was able to get the slight victory. Ezekiel Elliott on the bench. I was trying to trade him just because his receiving work is limited. He just doesn't look like he's going to have be that top end fantasy running back for the rest of the season. But he got in the end zone. I was trying to package him and DK Metcalf or something, but I really couldn't get anything worth trading away. And even though Metcalf and Zeke I don't think are going to be superstars this year, that is still good depth to have Zeke on the bench. Like, if he's on your bench, you're doing something pretty right, as your running back 4. I didn't want to get rid of them for, pennies on the dollar. So I just kept them. Yeah, that was last week. Looking at recent activity, there was a trade in this league. This is a Superflex league, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned half PPR. Kyler Murray and Allen Lazard got traded away for Breece Hall and T. Higgins. So you're seeing how the quarterback value is elevated in a Superflex league. These are all the other transactions that went down in this league, if you care. I'm just going to look at my team, the Iron Men. I dropped Joe Flacco. I added Zay Jones off waivers for $0. And I dropped Davis Mills and added Geno Smith. And you will see why here in a second. Okay, so my team in this Superflex league where it's important to have 2 solid quarterbacks, I currently do not have that. I have Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott is injured. That was a huge loss for my team. So I have been having to start some bad options here. And if you look at this lineup here, if I would have played Davis Mills over Joe Flacco, who I went out of my way to pick up, I would have won. Also, if I would have played Ezekiel Elliott over Aaron Jones or Javonte Williams, I would have won last week. So, I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't. But Geno Smith gets the Lions this week. I'm hoping he can just put up something, okay? My opponent here, he did have Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill on Thursday. Tyreek had a nice little game. Jamar Chase, he had a slow start, but he kind of had some catches down the stretch of that game. I'm just lucky that, he didn't go nuclear against me because both Tyreek and Jamar Chase can have huge games. Luckily, I avoided that. Although Tyreek, 20 points. That's very, very good, obviously. And then I had Jalen Waddle, on the field with Tyreek Hill. It looked like he was kind of dealing with an injury. Only 4.9 points. That was not a good start, especially against a team that's 3-0 and I'm 0-3. Looking at the other team here, James Robinson has been a savior for this team. He gets Jamal Williams in the lineup with that Swift injury. Someone just dropped Baker Mayfield in this league, and I'm not saying I would prefer to play Baker Mayfield, but with the way my luck is going in this league, and Baker Mayfield is going to be picked up off of waivers, played against me, and put up 30 fantasy points. So hopefully nothing like that happens, but we will see. But my opponent has a pretty good lineup here, especially with Robinson being this is an auction draft. He got him for literally $1 coming off the Achilles, and you can kind of see what he's done in fantasy. 19, 14, 19 points. So Robinson looks like he's even better than he was before the Achilles injury, oddly enough. Maybe not, but he's putting up big numbers. So setting the lineup for this league. The lineup you see is pretty much the lineup you're going to get here. We got Kirk and Geno Smith at quarterback and Superflex. JT is an every week start. Aaron Jones against New England. I'm going to start him. He's sort of the guy you just start every week. And then Javonte Williams against the Raiders. I'm playing him. And then pro tip, guys, you always want your later players in the flex. I kind of like to go over that tip every once in a while. So even though I like Javonte more than Miles Sanders, I consider Javonte my running back 2 and Miles Sanders my running back 3. In this first league we went over, I put Miles Sanders in the running back spot and Javonte in the flex because Javonte is playing later in the game. So if I need to make a last minute change, I have more flexibility. I could put Dortch in there in the flex because you can play a running back or a receiver there. Whereas if I had Javonte in the running back spot and all of a sudden, oh no, he gets a last minute injury, I can't put the Dortch in there because I have to play a running back. So that's something I always make sure to do. And then at wide receiver, Brandin Cooks. Hopefully he can have a decent game here. And then Metcalf against Detroit. He could be kind of locked up by Okudah, who has been playing pretty well from what I hear. And I watched him against the Vikings, and he played well. But I kind of got to play him because I don't really have any other options. I was relying on Darnell Mooney to be a good option, but he has done nothing. And Zeke is going to stay on the bench despite getting in the end zone. I could see him having a good game. And if he has 2 good games in a row, that might be an opportunity to trade high on him, even though I tried after week 3 and no one really wanted him. If him and Metcalf both have good weeks again, I'll send out that package again. I have no shame. I will send out the exact same trade. I'll say, hey, 2 weeks in a row, maybe I'm losing out here. Because usually I try to do a 2-for-1 trade for an upgrade at wide receiver, and no one was really having it. So we'll see. Now on to our Dynasty League here, guys. Oh, and by the way, this is our 4th or 5th year of this league. I believe I made it to the championship twice. We got 1 trophy, so we're looking for our 2nd in that league. And in this Dynasty League, this has got to be our 5th or so year. I've made it 4th, 5th year. I've made it to the championship a couple times, but no rings, no trophies. And I am 0-3 in this league. So guys, I am a combined 1-8 across my leagues. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like this year has been really weird. I like all my teams, but it just isn't working out so far. Particularly my Dynasty team, I think, is very solid. But last week, I got dominated. Okay, Tua. I had Tua on my bench for his 6 touchdown game, and I played Brady against the Saints. Stupidly, I should have known he would flop against the Saints. I put Tua in my lineup, and he didn't really do much. I mean, Trubisky, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, and Trevor Lawrence all outscored him. That's just the luck I have sometimes. I don't know. It's just one of those years so far. But Mixon had a bust game. JT McCaffrey, who I recently acquired in a trade and played in week 3, he did okay for his standards. Sutton did well. Goedert did well. And then I also did recently trade for Kyle Pitts. In a Dynasty League, Kyle Pitts is pretty much the #1 overall value at tight end when you factor in his age and his potential and what he's already done in his rookie year. But he started his sophomore year off slow, only 19 yards in each of his first 2 games, and the manager of Pitts was willing to sell. So I sent George Kittle in a first, and I told myself, listen, even if Pitts isn't great for this season, I got Dalton Schultz, I have Dallas Goedert, that's enough to get me through. Kittle, he's one of my favorite players to watch. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. But he has his injury problems, and he's getting a little bit up there. I believe he's 28. So in Dynasty, I'd rather sell a year too early than a second too late. So I took the value, And Kyle Pitts, he actually came out and had 5 for 87. So he showed that this year, hey man, maybe he'll get it rolling. Maybe it was just a slow start. So Zay Jones on my bench. The Dortch had a nice week. And in Dynasty, having a guy like Dortch on my bench is nice because even if his role gets reduced as people come back from injury, hopefully Hopkins once he comes back, I think he's showing that he can play, so he could get an opportunity later in his career. Okay, so we're gonna look at our transactions now. Let me see. Also, where is my team? Prodigious, boom. So these are the trades. I made separate videos on these. I can't remember if I went over these in my lineup video last week. I probably did, but these are the trades. I traded Jeudy in a first for McCaffrey, a 2024 first for McCaffrey, and then a 2023 first and George Kittle for Kyle Pitts. So I tried to also acquire Travis Kelce from the Prodigious 6, but the Prodigious 6 ended up trading Kelce to Warner 3, who is a competitive team. Prodigious 6 is rebuilding. So Warner 3 actually now has Kittle and Kelce. So I'm not sure what the plan is there. But other than those trades, that was last week. So that was before week 3 even. And then the only transaction I made was kind of a big one. Greg Dulcich. He's a rookie. He was a pretty highly thought of prospect at tight end. He got dropped. So I picked him up and I put him on my IR just to stash him for 73 out of 200 fab. If you're not familiar with Dynasty, the waiver wire is always bare in a Dynasty league because we have deep benches, 30-man rosters. So when a guy like that shows up, you want to make an aggressive bid. It's not uncommon, and it was good I did because someone else bid 40 on him out of 200. So it's a good thing I put in a big bid. Now on to this week. I don't know how to feel about this week because on the other team's lineup, okay, he played Edmonds, who had 20 total yards, did drop a touchdown, but got another touchdown, which was a bit annoying. He actually caught the one from Teddy Bridgewater, but he made sure he dropped the one from Tua, who I started at quarterback. And obviously, you guys know he suffered a really scary injury in that game and went to the hospital. I hear it was a concussion, no any more serious damage than that. So overall, I'm just glad that the person is okay because that's all that really matters in a situation like that. But it is frustrating to play Tom Brady, have him bust, and see Tua go crazy. And then I put Tua in the lineup, and then literally all 4 of my other quarterbacks go off. And then I play Tua, and there's just this freak injury. Obviously, fantasy doesn't matter when it comes to an injury, but I was deciding between him and Tom Brady with weapons coming back. So it's looking like I should have gone with Tom Brady, unfortunately. But it is what it is. We did have Joe Mixon have a good game, 15.4 points. But even in a good performance, it was still frustrating to watch, guys, because he had so much volume, and it turned into 61 rushing yards, 13 receiving yards, and he got stuffed at the goal line, I swear to God, 30 times in that game. Luckily, he did get 1 rushing touchdown, but there was a drive where I think he got 3 consecutive goal line carries, and he was so close, and it just didn't get in. And I think he had even more goal line carries than that, because I was watching that game, and I remember just being so stressed about that. And then they finally did a play action pass to him, and Joe Burrow just threw a wide open touchdown to someone else. So it is what it is. Tyler Boyd in that game, 6.62. He actually threw a pass, interesting enough, and it completed. And then Gesicki, 3 for 3. So it's kind of nice that this team traded Kelce away in hindsight because he had to play Gesicki, and he did not do very well. So these are who I started so far. And in this league, I'm going to be starting Jonathan Taylor no matter what. I was deciding between James Robinson and Miles Sanders. I already have Miles Sanders in a non-PPR league, that first league we went over. And this is the only league I have James Robinson in. I have yet to start him in a single game, and he has been on a tear. I am putting him in the lineup. I don't care. I got Miles Sanders in one league. I'm benching Miles Sanders in this league and going with James Robinson. And this will probably be the game that he has 2 points just because I'm finally putting him in the lineup. Because it's funny because week 1, he's coming off the Achilles. I'm not starting him. Rips off a big run. Week 2, well, it's a tough matchup. And he actually got bottled up, but he had 1 long touchdown run. So he had a good game for fantasy. Then week 3, he saw good volume, got in the end zone, got a couple receptions, good healthy yards per carry. So I'm putting him in the lineup for now. Miles Sanders on the bench unless Christian McCaffrey is ruled out. So this was the reason I was able to get McCaffrey for Jeudy in a 2024 first instead of like 10 first-round picks, is because when he's on the field, he's one of the best players in fantasy. But that's the question. Can he stay healthy? The last 2 years have been rough. According to this, he's likely to play. If he plays, I will play him. If not, I will try to put Miles Sanders in there, but they play at noon. And then McCaffrey doesn't play until 3, so I might have to make another pivot option if I don't know, by noon, if McCaffrey's question if his status is still up in the air. I might have to pivot to maybe Greg Dortch. Maybe if Godwin is active, I can throw him in there, but I'm a little nervous with him coming back off the injury. He doesn't play till the night game, of course. So we'll see what happens. I will comment and put in the description down below if I make any changes to my lineup. I always do that just so you guys can stay up to date because things change rapidly in fantasy. But if McCaffrey is active, I'm most likely going to play him unless they say he's on like a severe snap count limit. Like I'm talking like 25%. Then I might throw someone else in there. But at wide receiver, Courtland Sutton, he's pretty much an auto start at this point. Mike Williams, he has his boom weeks. He has his bust weeks. I'm thinking he has a chance to have a boom week this week, especially without Keenan Allen, his fellow wide receiver for the Chargers. And then DJ Moore, it's frustrating to play DJ Moore. He's the type of player that he can disappear. He can have a good game for fantasy. If Chris Godwin was fully healthy, or if DeAndre Hopkins was not suspended, or, if Antonio Brown wasn't Antonio Brown, those are guys I could maybe play. But some of those guys are not on a team. Some of those guys aren't playing, and some of those guys are dealing with injuries. So I'm going to stick with DJ Moore as of now. And at tight end, a real tough decision, Kyle Pitts versus Dallas Goedert. I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts. I just love his talent. He had a bounce back week in week 3, and hopefully Marcus Mariota gets him the ball. Hopefully the coaching staff can draw him up some plays against Cleveland. And I made Marcus Mariota a start of the week in my start of the week video for week 4. He's got to throw the ball to somebody. Hopefully Kyle Pitts gets in the end zone. But I do like Dallas Goedert each and every week in that offense. He just has a lot of competition for targets. And you can even see guys with Dallas Goedert, 4, 6, and 4 targets. Nothing crazy. He's just doing a lot with them, which shows just how talented he is. So those are all of my lineup decisions. If I make any changes, like I said, I will comment it down below and put it in the description. But yeah, that is it for our week 4 lineup setting video. I'm recording this at 3:16 a.m. and my Vikings play, I think, at 8:30 a.m. my time. They got the London game, so I wanted to get this video out just in case anyone likes to keep up with my leagues. I like to make these. And also, I haven't made a video about my guillotine league in a while, but we did get chopped after last week, so very unfortunate. I can maybe make a video on that too, but we'll see. But we are out of my first guillotine league. We're already done. Very sad. I just needed a quarterback. Justin Fields could not get it done. I had great skill positions, but Fields was killing me, man. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more fantasy football content. These types of videos aren't really your thing. I also make some advice videos like starts of the week, and I do some buy low and sell high videos. I've done those in the past. I haven't yet this year, but I plan on doing some of those eventually. And yeah, have a good day, everybody, and good luck in week 4. Peace out. Peace out, everybody.